Okay, I'm reloaded!
Man, this is what they do, man. And this is a big reason for why boxing has been extremely annoying for me. This is one of the reasons why 2K really stopped watching boxing over the last year and a half, right? I jump in and out. They are trying to put David Benavidez, the responsibility of fighting a David Benavidez, on Terence Crawford. That's not Terence Crawford's food. That's Canelo's food. Stop trying to absolve Canelo of fights he should have taken. I don't care that Terence Crawford whooped Canelo's ass. I don't care that Terence Crawford beat the dust off Canelo like he stole some shit out of his house. I don't care that Terence Crawford made Canelo Alvarez look like an amateur, look like he just learned how to box yesterday. Don't care. That's not Terence Crawford's responsibility. Canelo Alvarez ducked David Benavidez. If it were a situation where Canelo was trying to fight David Benavidez and Benavidez ran to 175 and then Canelo was like, all right, I'll settle for Terence Crawford, right? Then, only then, would I agree that maybe Terence Crawford should be going after David Benavidez. Because Benavidez, it would be a guy that was running from 168, if that were the case. But unfortunately for you Canelo Alvarez fans, that wasn't the case. Canelo effectively ducked David Benavidez. He said he wanted 150 million. Turkey said we got it. He still said no. That's ducking. Then he thought he was going to cherry pick again like he did against Dimitri Bivol. Now people are going to be like, how is that a cherry pick? He's moving up in weight. It's because Dimitri Bivol was going life and death with guys like Craig Richards and Umar Salamov before he fought Canelo Alvarez. These fighters scout each other, especially a guy with the name of Canelo. He's at the tail end of his career. He's trying to make the most money he can without fighting the more riskier guys. That's what he's doing. If there is a risky name, he's going to try to stack the deck against that risky name. Hence what he did against Terence Crawford. Made him move up 3 fucking weight classes and then said that there will not be a rehydration clause. So Canelo effectively walked into the ring on September 13th. 2025 at 190, possibly 195 pounds. We know he was at least in the 180s at one point, right? So he literally rehydrated from 167, somewhat in the 180s, possibly 190s, right? He tried to stack the deck against Terence Crawford. He tried to cherry pick a guy that was moving up from 154. Mind you, only had one fight at 154, so he was really moving up from 147 because he hadn't really spent any time at 154. Tried to cherry pick that guy, bring him up to 168, and stack the deck against him. That's what Canelo Alvarez does. So that's what he was doing against Dimitri Bivol. In that situation, yes, he moved up to 175, but Canelo fans acted like he had never been to 175 before. Do y'all remember? He moved up to 175 to fight Sergey Kovalev. Yeah, it was a washed Sergey Kovalev, one that went life and death with Anthony Yarde right before that fight, right? One that was pretty much humiliated by Andre Ward in their second fight, right? He was washed. But I will submit, Sergey Kovalev was outboxing Canelo in that fight until Canelo caught him, which is typically what happens. If you box Canelo Alvarez, you'll probably win the majority of the rounds. Caleb Plant, Arislandi Lara, Amir Khan, Billy Joe Sanders, Floyd Mayweather, right now Terence Crawford. If you box him, you'll win the majority of the rounds. But unfortunately for guys like Billy Joe Sanders, Caleb Plant, Amir Khan, and Sergey Kovalev, they got caught and knocked the fuck out, right? Dimitri Bivol was supposed to be a tune-up, guys, but it was going to be a tune-up where he took his fucking belt. That's what it was. Canelo at the time was in the middle of a multi-fight deal with DAZN with the last fight being a trilogy against Gennady Golovkin, another washed fighter. Looked like shit against Sergey Devryanchenko, probably should have lost that fight, and looked like shit against Ryota Murata until he caught him, and then Ryota Murata got scared of his power and then wilted down the stretch, right? But I digress. That's the whole reason why Bivol was picked, because it was supposed to catapult Canelo leading up to that trilogy. It was supposed to boost the popularity with Canelo having a belt at 175 along with belts at 168. That was the whole fucking point. It was a cherry pick gone wrong, just like Terence Crawford was a cherry pick gone wrong. And a lot of fans were sitting there saying, oh, it's Canelo, you know, he's going for greatness. That's bullshit. Canelo's an opportunist. And if you looked at the fights that he had before that, as I mentioned, Craig Richard, Umar Salamov, and you can go even further back than that, and you'll see that Dmitry Bivol oftentimes has problems closing out fights when he hurts fighters, right? He has problems doing that. So they are scouting these guys. Canelo's watching Dmitry Bivol and seeing his inconsistencies from fight to fight. He's seeing that he can hurt guys in fights, but can't finish them off and ends up going 12 rounds with them. Canelo, he literally has one of the best chins in boxing. Canelo's not worried about getting hit and hurt by any fighter in boxing. It doesn't matter who it is. He's not worried about it. Hell, even though he got hurt against Terence Crawford, and if you guys want to say he didn't, go watch that 11th round, that 12th round. This man was staggering and shit. His legs were wobbling all over the place. He was hurt. His legs were definitely ready to go. But he had that will and determination to stay up on his feet. As I mentioned in the prediction video, he's not going to allow himself to get knocked out, and he didn't, right? But I digress. Canelo Alvarez has one of the best chins in boxing, right? So he's not worried about moving up in weight and getting hit by a bigger guy and legs wobbling, getting knocked the fuck out and concussed. He's not worried about that. So when you take that out of the equation and you watch Dmitry Bivol's last two fights before he fought Canelo Alvarez, it's easy to say that Canelo would probably beat him, and his team thought so as well. So it wasn't as big of a risk that Canelo fans like to make it out to be. So with David Benavidez, there wasn't that ability to stack the deck. It wasn't no ability. David Benavidez is a bigger fighter. He's taller, he's bigger, he's rangier, he hits hard. The motherfucker doesn't get tired. That's a bad dude. Canelo saw what he saw. They scouted him. And I'm going to tell you guys something. They've been scouting him for a while. Remember when David Benavidez was WBC champion at 168? And Canelo's sitting at 160, needing to move up to 168 because he was getting too big. Even fought Rocky Felding at one point at 168 and then moved back down to 160. Wouldn't fight Demetrius Andrade for his WBO title at 160. Remember all those fucking things? He knew that David Benavidez was there, and he knew that David Benavidez wanted that work, bro. He wanted that smoke. If Canelo was going to be undisputed champion at 168, right, he had to go through David Benavidez. He did not move up to 168 until David Benavidez missed weight, and they took the belt from him. And at that point, the belt's vacant. Avni Yildirim is the #1 contender because they were doing him a favor, I guess, because of the technical decision that he lost to Anthony Durrell whenever the WBC belt went vacant that time, because that particular time is when David Benavidez pulled the Scarface and had his face in that white girl, right? So at the end of the day, they said, oh, you know, Avni Yildirim, you can fight Canelo for the vacant WBC title. That effectively made David Benavidez the #1 contender. He wasn't even champion in recess at that time. He was champion in recess whenever Durrell fought Yildirim, and that's how Benavidez ended up getting the belt back, because he destroyed Anthony Durrell, right? So he wasn't even champion in recess at this point. He was just like an interim contender. You know what I'm saying? Fighting for the WBC interim belt, which doesn't necessarily promise you a fight with the champion. Ask Dillian White, as he was sitting there ready to fight Deontay Wilder for years and never actually got that damn fight. Anyway, so WBC knew what they were doing. Canelo knew what they were doing. So he's been ducking David Benavidez for a while. He let him sit there. He has the WBC interim belt. Every fan that's a Canelo fan and a boxing fan and a David Benavidez fan, all of them wanted to see Canelo versus David Benavidez. All of them. Canelo fans were trying to make excuses for Canelo, but at the end of the day, when you asked them, did you want to see that fight, majority of them did say yes. the ones that were on our 3kingsboxing.com page and the Facebook page, they were saying, yes, we would like to see that fight, but Canelo doesn't have to fight him. That was essentially the temperature in that fucking room with Canelo fans. But this is Canelo's work, man. He's been ducking him for quite some time. He avidly ducked him and fighting Jaime Munguia and Edgar Berlanga, to the point where David Benavidez said, fuck it, I'll just move up to 175. I'll beat up the former WBC light heavyweight champion, had beat Adonis Stevenson a while back, retired and came back, right? He went up there and fought, Alexander Gvozdyk, who was a ranked contender for the WBC title. Whooped his ass. Now he's sitting there waiting on a Dmitry Bivol, Artur Beterbiev trilogy, right? But in the meantime, they got poor old Anthony Yarde getting ready to go to the slaughterhouse November 22nd. Poor old Anthony Yarde, who really doesn't have a good trainer at all and doesn't spar, right? He's getting ready to go into the slaughterhouse with one of the best fighters in boxing today. Feel bad for him, but that's Canelo's work. Said, fuck it, you've been ducking me so much, you're not going to give me the fight, I'll just go to 175, get my work there. That's what he did. Demetrius Andrade did the same thing. And we'll talk about that in a different video, but the ducking that Canelo Alvarez did to Demetrius Andrade, that shit is monumental. That shit spans like 10 fucking years. Monumental ducking by Canelo Alvarez when it comes to Demetrius Andrade. I don't care about Demetrius Andrade and what y'all think about his resume. I don't care about A plus B equals C, the stupid ass triangle theory that you guys got. Well, Canelo would beat David Benavidez, but David Benavidez knocked out Demetrius Andrade, so Demetrius Andrade would lose to Canelo. I don't care about none of that shit, bro. Demetrius Andrade rightfully had a shot at Canelo Alvarez at 154. He was calling Canelo out when he was WBO champion at 154. He got stripped because he couldn't get the goddamn fight. Canelo gets the belt from Liam Smith. Demetrius Andrade is still asking for that fight as the #1 contender. Never got it. At 160, he's WBO champion. Canelo has 3 of the 4 belts. Andrade's like, well, I'm next. If you want to be undisputed at 160, I'm next. Guess what Canelo does? Goes to 168. So, monumental ducking of Demetrius Andrade, right? All the shit that y'all say about Andrade not having a resume, well, apparently you Canelo fans said the same thing about Terence Crawford before that fight happened. He didn't have the resume either. I was sitting there watching comments all over our Facebook page about how Terence Crawford would not beat Canelo Alvarez because he doesn't have the resume. One of the videos in which they did all that shit talking on was when Tim Bradley, who almost got this shit right, he was getting drug on our Facebook page, man. Over 1,000 something comments. Over 10,000 views of the video where he predicted Terence Crawford would knock out Canelo Alvarez in round 10. They were dragging that dude, bro. Calling him milk dud head, all kinds of shit. They were dragging him. And on that video, if you look at the comments, dudes is all over that shit saying, how is Bud gonna beat Canelo when he doesn't have the resume? He hasn't fought anybody. What are you saying now? At the end of the day, bro, Terence Crawford is not obligated to have to fight David Benavidez just because Canelo couldn't get his own work, because Canelo was afraid of his own work. You Canelo fans effectively want Terence Crawford to take Canelo Alvarez's work so that he doesn't have to deal with it. Fuck that. Let Canelo fight him. Y'all have that much faith in your guy anyway, right? Or is it that you deep down really don't have that kind of faith in him? Especially after what Terence Crawford, a smaller fighter moving up 2 to 3 weight classes, did to him. Maybe you don't think Canelo's capable of being able to beat David Benavidez. You no longer have that faith in Canelo Alvarez. I think that's the case. So now you want Terence Crawford to somehow uphold Canelo's dignity and jump in that lake of fire. He don't have to. Terence Crawford can do whatever the fuck he wants. Y'all know what it is, man. Go in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think about this. Should Terence Crawford have to fight David Benavidez? Asinine. Y'all know what to do, man. Tell me what you think about this in the comment section. We'll be back with another one.